A billionaire's mansion. A nanny no one noticed, walking the halls quietly, carrying the weight of two worlds. To the family, she was just the help. To their son, she was safety, comfort, love. But one night, everything changed. When danger struck, it wasn't the bodyguards or the high walls that saved his life. It was her. Yet instead of gratitude, what followed exposed the raw truth of how society sees a black woman, even when she risks everything. The question is, how do you repay someone who saved your child, but you still refuse to see as an equal? Her name was Lillian. She was 28, soft-spoken, and carried herself with quiet strength. Every morning before sunrise, she boarded 2 buses and a train to reach the gated mansion where she worked. To the billionaire's family, her job was simple. Feed the child, play with him, keep him safe. But to her, it was more than that. She treated the boy as if he were her own, singing him to sleep, patching scraped knees, holding him when nightmares came. The boy adored her. He would run past his father's expensive suits and his mother's polished shoes, straight into Lillian's arms. But while he saw love, the adults only saw labor. She wasn't praised, barely acknowledged. At parties, she stood in the background, silent, holding the child while the family mingled, as though she were invisible. Still she carried on. Because she needed the job, because her own family depended on her paycheck, because in a world stacked against her, survival often meant swallowing pride. But beneath the polished floors and glittering chandeliers, the divide was always there, unspoken yet sharp. One evening, as the city grew dark and the mansion lights flickered on, Lillian sensed something was off. The guards at the gate were distracted. A storm rolled in, heavy and loud. And in the nursery, the boy clutched his blanket tighter than usual, restless, uneasy. Lillian didn't know it yet, but the night ahead would test everything. Her instincts, her courage, and the dangerous truth about what it means to save a life in a world that refuses to see yours as equal. The storm outside rattled the mansion's tall windows, lightning splitting the night sky. Lillian tucked the boy into bed, humming softly, when a sharp noise cut through the thunder. Glass breaking. She froze. The sound came from downstairs. Her first thought was to call for security, but the guard posts were empty, she had noticed earlier. The family had gone out, leaving her alone with the boy, trusting the gates and alarms. But alarms could be silenced. Gates could be breached. Her heart pounded as footsteps echoed through the marble hallway. Heavy. Rushed. Wrong. She grabbed the boy, holding him close, whispering for him to stay quiet. His small arms wrapped around her neck, trembling. The intruders weren't subtle. Drawers slammed, voices cursed. Furniture scraped against the floor. Whoever they weren't there for money alone. The sound of a door kicked open made her blood run cold. They were checking rooms, one by one, moving closer to the nursery. Lillian's instincts screamed to hide. She squeezed into the closet with the boy, pulling the door shut. Darkness swallowed them. She pressed her hand gently over his mouth as he whimpered, praying the pounding of her heart wasn't loud enough to give them away. The footsteps drew nearer. Boots against polished wood. A pause. Then, the nursery door swung open. Silence. For a moment, only the storm spoke outside. Then came the intruder's voice, low, menacing. He was searching. She could hear him rifling through drawers, yanking curtains aside. And then, the closet door handle rattled. Her grip tightened on the boy. She thought of her son at home, of her mother waiting for her safe return. She thought of the countless times she had been overlooked in that house, treated as background noise. And now, here she was, the only thing standing between this child and danger. The handle twisted harder. The closet door jerked open halfway before she shoved it closed with all her strength, startling the intruder. He cursed, banging against the door, trying to force it open. The boy whimpered, tears streaking his cheeks. Adrenaline surged through her. She knew she couldn't stay hidden. With no weapon, no backup, just her body and her will, she braced herself. For the first time, she stepped fully into the fight. Not just for the boy's life, but for her worth. And as she shoved open the closet door, ready to protect him at any cost, she realized this night would not only test her courage, it would reveal how little courage the world had in protecting women like her. The intruder stumbled back as Lillian burst from the closet, clutching the boy against her chest. Her body shook with fear, but her eyes were steady, locked on the man blocking the doorway. He was bigger, stronger, armed with a knife glinting under the lightning flashes. "Don't move," he hissed. But she did. She darted past him, sprinting into the hallway, bare feet pounding against the floor. The boy cried out, his small voice cutting through the chaos. Behind them, the intruder shouted, giving chase. Every step echoed with the weight of life or death. Down the staircase, across the grand hall, she ran. But the marble floor was slick from the storm blowing rain through the broken glass doors. She slipped, nearly falling, clutching the boy tighter as the intruder closed in. He lunged. His hand caught her arm, yanking her backward. She twisted, fighting with everything she had, the boy screaming between them. For a split second, she saw the blade raised high, ready to strike. But survival is not always about strength. It's about refusing to surrender. With the last of her strength, she shoved the boy under a heavy table, shielding him, and turned to face the man head-on. He swung. She grabbed his wrist, the knife inches from her face. His weight pressed down, her muscles burned, but she held on, refusing to let go. The storm roared, lightning cracked, and just as the blade edged closer, headlights cut through the driveway. The billionaire's car screeched to a stop. Voices shouted. Security finally rushed in. The intruder bolted, slipping into the shadows. Lillian collapsed to the floor, her body trembling, clutching the boy who clung to her like his very life depended on it. And in that moment, the truth was undeniable. When all the wealth, all the walls, all the guards had failed, it was the black nanny the family barely saw who had saved everything. The mansion was filled with chaos, sirens blaring outside, guards scrambling, the billionaire shouting orders. But in the center of it all was Lillian, still holding the boy, rocking him gently as though the world hadn't just almost ended. The parents rushed to him, pulling him from her arms. They thanked security, they barked at the police, they demanded answers. But when their eyes turned to Lillian, their words grew colder, shorter. No real gratitude, no embrace. Only a nod, as though she had merely done her job. Yet everyone in that house knew the truth. It wasn't the money, the mansion, or the guards that saved the boy. It was the woman they kept at arm's length, the one they never introduced at parties, the one they paid just enough to keep quiet. For Lillian, the scars of that night weren't just physical. They were reminders of how easily her courage could be dismissed, how quickly her sacrifice could be minimized. She walked away with no headline, no recognition, no lasting thanks. Just exhaustion, and the knowledge that her worth in their eyes would never match the weight of what she had done. But the question remains, why does it take risking your life to be seen? And even then, why is seen still not equal? Her story isn't just about one night in one mansion. It's about every black woman who gives her strength, her care, her heart, and still finds herself invisible when the danger has passed. Because when the world applauds heroism, it rarely looks her way. And so we're left to ask, how many more lives will be saved by those society refuses to truly value? And when will we finally start giving them the recognition, respect, and equality they've always deserved? If this story stayed with you, don't let it fade into silence. Share it. Talk about it. Ask yourself, and others, whose courage goes unseen around us every single day. Stories like Lillian's aren't rare. They're happening quietly, without cameras, without applause. So before you scroll away, take a moment. What does it really mean to value someone? To honor the people who protect, care, and sacrifice, even when the world refuses to see them. If you believe stories like this matter, let your voice count. Comment your thoughts, share this video, and make sure the conversation doesn't end here. Because silence has never changed anything.